I've been searching YouTube, can't find any really good videos talking about how to prepare a carbon fiber hood to be clear coated. So I decided to make my own video. Here's my carbon fiber hood on my 2001 Honda Accord, and you can see it's in really bad shape. I really came out one morning and the hood was just starting to peel off. You can see here that you can really just kind of scratch it off with your fingernail. And it's really disappointing. I know these run from about $500 to $600 each, so I thought it would probably be easier for me to sand it down. One thing to keep in mind when you're sanding this is you're really only going through a couple, 2 or 3 millimeters of clear coat, depending on your hood. And so you really don't need to sand that much. And you want to make sure you don't sand too far to actually scratch the carbon fiber hood, which can affect the final product at the end. What you're going to need for this project, you're going to need to get an empty bottle. This used to be Windex. Put some water in it and a little bit of dish soap. You're going to need a bunch of these cloths for wiping down. I'll explain more how to use this later. You're going to need some wet, dry sandpaper. You're going to need 800 grit, 1000, and 1200. You could probably get by with just 800 and 1000, but I used all three. And you're going to need some clear coat. I got some Duplicolor paint shop. This is clear. I got it at Pep Boys. This was $28, I believe. It's a couple of pints of clear coat. That's fine. That'll be perfect for this. You're going to need to get a paint spray gun. I got this at Harbor Freight for 16 bucks. It works great. And this is a great gun. It's a gravity feed spray gun. Then you're going to need to get some filters here. You got to have these paint strainers. They look like this. You put them in the top of the cup. I'll show you, and you strain the paint through it. You're going to also need something to clean your paint gun out. I got this paint thinner. It's less caustic than the other ones, and so that works out. And since we're dealing with all these caustic chemicals, you're definitely going to need protection. You're going to need your gloves. You're going to need to put this plastic drop cloth down. I'm going to be doing it here in the garage here, so I'm going to need to cover up all the stuff because the paint's going to spray everywhere. And you definitely need this, your mask. Because unless you want to go brain dead, you definitely need one of these to protect yourself from breathing in the harmful fumes. You can get one of these for 19 bucks, Home Depot. Together, everything here, and it's about 50-60 bucks to be able to do this project. And a lot of time and love. Every once in a while you want to run this underwater to clear it off so the grit is still there. And after about, I would say 20 minutes of using this, if you really use it a lot, you probably want to change another sheet because the grit on this is really fine and it wears away really quickly. And I also got a sanding block, and all I did was just wrap it up just so it can have a nice even pressure. Usually when you use your fingers, you'll have more pressure under the sandpaper under each finger, so I wanted to use a nice sanding block here. So all you're going to do is you're going to spray down an area that you want to work on, and then you're going to want to start sanding on it in nice circle motions. And don't be afraid to push hard. You want to sand it, and remember, you're only taking just a little bit off at a time. You want to start sanding it, and every once in a while, if it starts to stick, it gets hard, you're going to have to kind of lift off and sand again. Then every once in a while you want to spray it again. And just keep doing this. Make sure you keep track of where you've been sanding and how much. And then when you're done doing that, you're going to want to make sure you wipe it down and then let it dry, and then be able to compare and contrast and see how far you've gone down. So every once in a while make sure you stop so you don't go too far down and scratch the carbon fiber hood. In some areas I've sanded down. You can see how it's kind of dull, and then it's shiny on these other areas right here where it hasn't been sanded. Alright, I'm just about done sanding the hood. You can tell now that it's a really dull color. What you want to do is try to make it uniform. So the dullness, you want it to be the same dullness across the whole thing. There still are a few spots that I haven't gotten. So I've sanded, but you can see these few spots here. It's very tiny. It's just less than a millimeter of the clear coat that's still on there. So those little spots I'll be able to get off, no problem. But now what I need to do is go around the edges. The edges I haven't really done a good job because I didn't want to scratch the side of the car while sanding them. And so it's time to take off the hood. Check your progress and see the uniformity is while you're sanding, every once in a while get a wet rag and run it over the car. Then you can kind of tell what it's going to look like once you have the clear coat on. See? You can see yourself in it. But that's how you know the difference. So I finished sanding it, and now I just did the final wipe down on it. It's looking nice and shiny. So you're going to want to take one of your filters, just put it in the top of your gun. You're going to want to fill your gun up about halfway. You don't want to fill it up any more than that. So then I've stirred this clear coat up. It's nice and clear. It's all the way stirred. So you just want to pour in some of it in here. It's a little tricky. There we go. Okay, I'm all ready to spray. I tacked this off, made sure all the dust and lint is off of it. So you want to try, I mean right now I've got this open-ended, I'm just out here with my garage door wide open, so I'm not expecting perfection. If you really wanted to do it well, you'd probably have your garage door halfway closed with the fan blowing out. You still want to have good air circulation. But I have my gun set at 40 psi. So what that means is, since I don't have a pressure gauge on this gun, what that means is I've just set the air compressor off at 40 psi. So that's as high as it goes, because the maximum psi on this gun is 45. But when you're spraying clear coat, you want to have a high psi, so when the clear coat comes out, it atomizes and it breaks the clear coat up into smaller particles. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a first coat, and I'm going to do it pretty high, from about 8 inches from the hood. It's going to be a little bit quicker. This is just going to kind of give a texture to the hood so that the second and third coats will stick better. So it's just going to be kind of a light to medium coat. Then the second coat's going to be a medium coat, and the third one's going to be kind of a wet coat. Not so wet that you get any puddling or dripping. You don't want that to happen, or you'll have to sand the whole thing all over again. What I suggest is you go outside, practice on a piece of wood or metal that you have until you feel comfortable with it before you actually start painting your hood. Alright, I've put about 4 coats on here, and you can see it's nice and smooth. It's finished. What I did is, after I finished painting it, I took a rubbing compound and buffed it down and then polished it. So make sure you follow carefully the instructions that are in the paint that you get, along with the wax and the rubbing compound, and everything should work out fine. Let me know if you have any questions.